On behalf of the Henry Art Gallery, thank you for coming tonight and participating in this special event, a performative lecture by groundbreaking artist Carolee Schneemann. Let me start with some information and thanks. Tonight's presentation is part of a two-day symposium called Streaming In From the Moon, presented in conjunction with the exhibition Carolee Schneemann Within and Beyond the Premises. In developing this program, Henry's staff, particularly Rachel Faust, Assistant Curator of Collections and Academic Programs, and Whitney Ford Terry, Public Programs Coordinator, collaborated with dozens of University of Washington faculty from nearly 10 different departments to determine the symposium themes, speakers, and structures. They and I would like to thank all of the faculty who came to the Henry for brainstorming sessions over the summer and who diligently and thoughtfully responded to questions and ideas through email and phone communications. Their ideas were remarkable, their participation invaluable. We especially want to thank the Faculty Planning Committee for the symposium, who helped make the tough final decisions. Anne Anagist, Professor of Anthropology, Adjunct Professor in the China Studies Program, Adjunct Professor in Gender, Women, and Sexuality Studies. Philip Thurtle, Director of the Comparative History of Ideas Program, Associate Professor of History, and Adjunct Professor of Anthropology. And Patricia Failing, Professor of Art History, School of Art. The symposium is made possible with funding from the Simpson Center for the Humanities at the University of Washington. We're particularly grateful to Director Kathleen Woodward and Associate Director Miriam Bartha for their genuine interest and encouragement throughout the process. The symposium is also supported by three notable community organizations: Velocity Dance, Bitch Media, and Reel Grrls. Carolee Schneemann, Within and Beyond the Premises, remains on view at the Henry Art Gallery through December 30th. I hope you've all had the opportunity to see it at least once. I know you're going to want to go back several times before the end of the year. The exhibition was originally curated last year by my friend Brian Wallace, whose talk kicks off tomorrow's presentations for the Dorsky Museum at the State University of New York, New Paltz, the city where Carolee lives. I worked with the artist to reconstitute and reconfigure it, notably expanding the selection of Schneemann's important film work. Early next year, the exhibition will take yet another personality at the University of Illinois, at Urbana-Champaign, the campus where Schneemann earned her MFA. It will be on view there at the Krannert Art Museum from January 27th through April 29th, 2012. The exhibition was made possible by the generous support of the Paul G. Allen Family Foundation and Stephen Johnson and Walter Sudall, who also generously underwrote the artist's travel to Seattle for this weekend's events, by Henry patrons and members, and by Hotel Max for providing accommodations for the artist. Don't forget to hold on to tonight's ticket for free entry into the events tomorrow evening following the Scholarly Symposium. The symposium itself begins at 10 a.m. in the auditorium at the Henry, and I believe a few tickets for that are still available. But you are all invited to events tomorrow evening, which run from 6 to 9 p.m., including exhibition tours, performances, and a special screening of Fuses with an introduction by UW Bothell professor Joe Malutis. This project has been an extraordinary experience for me, the opportunity to work with an artist of this stature and scope. In fact, given her range of accomplishments and inventions, the number of artists she has influenced around the world, and the ways she has changed the fields of visual art, film, and performance, I should be able to say to you, Carolee Schneemann needs no introduction. That I can't, that many culturally engaged people are still not familiar with the work, is squarely a feminist issue. Schneemann's achievements, however, are emblematic of innumerable developments throughout art history's recent past. When you think about the art of the 50s, its vivid abstract expressionism, just like the vibrant canvases that open the exhibition at the Henry. When you conjure up groundbreaking shifts of the 1960s, whether the invention of experience as art, performances, happenings, or kinetic theater, which is Carolee's preferred term, or the nascence of feminism, or protests against the senseless wars in Vietnam, for example, her art again looms large. This connection holds true for nearly every categorical shift since then, formal as well as thematic. Experimental filmmaking, check. Installation as art, check. Kinetic sculpture, check. Extending empathy and consciousness to animals and the environment, check. Holding society's feet to the fire for its persistent mistreatment of the subalterns and its proclivity to war, check. In each case, Schneemann's contribution is hardly a gentle, oblique commentary. Rather, she is continually, notoriously in your face, ensuring that her art communicates viscerally the enormity of these problems she critiques, as well as the depth of her passion. Not only is the message powerful, so too is its material presence, for she employs herself, characteristically her very real, individual, sensing body, as vehicle, gesture, structure, and surface, and in so doing, inevitably provokes kinesthetic responses in her viewers as well. These devices make audiences uncomfortable, even such trained observers as historians and critics. That provocation, I would suggest, is another factor in the unconscionable isolation, even neglect, her art has received. Well, we're working to counter that here. The exhibition currently on view surveys all those accomplishments and more, from paintings dated in the mid-1950s to an extraordinary multimedia installation, Precarious, which was commissioned by the Tate Museum in Liverpool in 2009. But tonight's offering does much more by allowing you the experience of the artist herself. One of the many visual art forms Carolee Schneemann has invented is the performative lecture, a combination of scholarly research and exploratory theater. Tonight's event, Mysteries of the Iconographies, is at once art historical survey and analytic self-portraiture. I anticipate it will be moving, informative, disconcerting, funny, and ultimately transformative. I'm delighted we're going to experience it together. In appreciation for her courage, her insights, her inventiveness, and the beauty and passion she's brought into our lives, please join me in welcoming Carolee Schneemann here tonight.
So it is wonderful to be back in Seattle, and I hope it'll snow. That will make it even more extra special than it already is. And as you know, this is a backwards lecture. It takes a long time to discover your own personal iconography, and I've been able to do that now. And I'm starting with images from when I was 4 years old. Although I was always discouraged by my family for doing art, that was a useless thing for a girl. Nevertheless, a whole bucket or basket full of these early drawings survived family imprecations. And I began to think they were very curious and related to coincidences and developments that would be in my future. And so I'm starting with an iconographic image that I think anticipates later feminist principles, the sense that to be a girl capturing the apple, you need 3 legs. So. Am I going in the right direction? No good?
I just want to.
Okay, let's get closer.
Let's go closer. All right, try it again.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Better? I mean, it's a huge space here, right? So, it's okay? Okay. Can I up the volume, or Eric, that's for you, up the volume? Should I just sort of shout into this little thing? So I've jumped from the 3-legged girl and the apple to work that I did with Judson Dance Theater, which was about momentum, and as a painter, wanting to use these bodies with the sense of corresponding to the energy of stroke, the energy of the mark on the page. And so it was before I myself did any performative action, I began to choreograph these very intense, sort of impactful actions. And so I had to also develop exercises of impact in which you could collide and not hurt yourself. And that was really one of my initiations to what was my sense of kinetic theater that now is called performance art, which is like anything you do, you throw up in the street, it's performance art. You know, fall out of your car, it must be performance art. But we can talk about that later. How's the mic up there? Okay, good, thank you. So the premise of gesture, energy, coming out of a painterly sense of the consequence of the mark also starts very early, and here's one of my recurrent themes. Again, it's a 4-year-old drawing, and I have evidence why. I call this the exuberant cat. And it's full of mystery and, for me, accomplishment. I think the abstraction of the cat head is, if I would tell my students, that was well done. And then there's the mystery of all the energy streaming out from that rectangular container. So then, so many years later, I see that energy in my work up to including her limits, which begins where I still live in the country with my neighbor pruning the apple tree. He leaves the rope and the harness to go have lunch, and it looks extremely appealing. Now I'm going to jump to a very early nude study, or an early figurative study. It's my brother in a bassinet. I know it's my brother. And it's so carefully observed. You can see he's in profile and he's throwing a toy, right? Yeah, you see all those. And then those protuberances. Now what do you think those are? No, you're wrong, they're socks. They're his little feet. But it's predictive of much later nude study that will get me in trouble. This one didn't yet. Oh, this is my partner of many years, early years, the composer and conductor James Tenney as a student. And when I was a student, there were only female models, and we had them. And so I would ask him when he came home very tired from school, if he was taking a nap, could he just throw his clothes off so that I could do a color field study. But the committee at Bard College, where I had my scholarship in the 60s, said that this painting had to be removed from the student exhibit. But why would they do that? Nobody knows, huh? Times have really changed. That's good. Well, I'll just tell you, it was considered obscene and offensive to take a dignified male student and show him naked when that was all they could look at. So my real problem was not the three pussies. Do you all see three pussies? They're there. Okay, there's that one. There's that one. It's the same cat, Kitsch, who was so participant in my work. So she's entering the visual field as I'm painting. But I can never get people, maybe now times have changed, to really look at the cats. They're always looking at the cock, so. So I guess it was groundbreaking, but they took the work out of the student exhibit. And I was soon then to lose my scholarship. Here's a mysterious cubistic adventure where the cat is the narrative and the theme and dominates what's going to be an obsession of mine. And I just did these stairs. The fragmentation of the plane, the physical plane by stairs, and the mystery of the stairs because they're filmic, and once they're depicted, I would never know where do they begin and where do they end. But in this case, I'm relating the stick that I danced in with to the structure of a vertical declivity, defining and formalizing space. And the cat's going to persist and come back over the years as a partner in figuration. So these are all from, I guess they're a little more advanced, maybe 5 years old. What do you think? But the stairs, endless stairs. The whole mystery of that suspension and the gravitational pull. So I don't know how you feel, but this was terrifying for me because I still feel on stairs, when I put this foot up, something happens in between where I don't know where my body is. It's in between, right? So it's that in between, that's the gravitational hold that pictorially will occur over and over again in the work. And so my brother on the stairs in his good socks. And a more complicated drama, a narrative of both on the stairs. Now, there's a formulation in this painting collage from the 60s that's the broken stick, the fractured stick. It's a stick that I carried around from my early days as a landscape painter into painting collage. It's that brown, what would you call it, sort of inundated, I'm not finding the word I want. It's like stairs. If you see that stick, I'm going to enlarge it for you. This was a painting construction that I simply couldn't solve. It wasn't holding together until I put that old stick into it. For me, it was relating to the great inspiration of Cézanne's broken line, and where the plane is fractured, and I would begin to feel the kinetics of space and the body entering. So I'm juxtaposing a very mysterious early work. It's very mysterious. It seems to be seen from above. There are hands reaching out of what might be train windows. It's quite enigmatic, and I hope someone wants to do their PhD on this. And I'm looking again at the insistence of verticality to divide and also energize space. And the work juxtaposed with it on the right is from the 60s. It's an homage to Lou Andreas Salome. And what suddenly seemed very curious to me has to do with glove and hand-like shapes. So here's some primitive hand extending something into space, and these glove-like hands. And then looking at this work, I began to see there's a whole series of gloves attached to it. And it's almost an in memoriam work for this disappeared, very influential genius who worked with Freud, who reconstructed the theory of narcissism so that it relates more to my sense of a painterly submersion in what's perceived. Lou Andreas Salome, she was the great friend, as some of you know, of Nietzsche, of Tolstoy, of Freud. And she was vilified historically as being like a crazed cunt who made men disturbed and interfered with their principles. So she became a very major influence for me. Well, just a transitional work where failed paintings became sculptures. I tear them apart so that there was a sense of re-entering the pictorial space that was now being shredded. And that sense of shredding would maintain itself in my work as a form of introducing an incremental energy. Here's a few stills from Meat Joy. There's a lovely installation of it with its remastered version at the Henry now. I hope you'll see it. If you've ever seen it before, it was bad. Now it's good. It's realized, finalized. So as most of you know, Meat Joy was rehearsed for many, many weeks. The people are untrained participants, and what we were being trained with would have been exercises in contact, improvisation, sensitization. The fish, the chickens, the meat were all slightly rotten, so in the 60s we could explain that they were not going to be foodstuffs. That was an issue with it. And we had never rehearsed with them previous to their performance, so that when you got hit with a chicken, it was truly a wet surprise, and heavy and sticky, and the fish were stinky and heavy. And one of the basic rules was that when any of these materials impinged on you in your space, you had to keep it, maintain a connection with it, and then deal with it as a relational element. So it wasn't all arbitrary. The writing of it has been very not rigorous enough. Drawings always precede realizing any work. These are drawings for the anti-Vietnam War work of the mid-60s, Snows, that play on my name, and on the ineluctable endless of the bombardments and destruction of Vietnamese culture. And some of these are stills from my Vietnam atrocity film, Viet Flakes. The audience controlled a complex cueing system of Super 8 projectors, 16 millimeter projectors, sound. Every third seat was wired with a contact microphone. So the switching system meant that when the audience was disturbed by an image, they might get very quiet, and that slowed down all the media. It went into the electronics and it slowed everything. Then when they were more agitated, it would speed up all the projection, and that also meant that our cues were constantly shifting, and it gave an important tension to our roles in realizing the imagery. So the pleasured sensuous works tend to be bracketed by the war work and works of rage and outrage. And so after Vietnam came Water Light, Water Needle, an aerial performance suspended on ropes. Again, it began with a set of anti-gravitational drawings for bodies moving in space. What I didn't understand was that you would have to build muscle memory and tremendous calluses. Unlike the figures in drawings, we couldn't move until we went through a very rigorous physical process. And an outdoor version through a set of fortunate coincidences on the estate of the Mawa estate of the last Mr. Help, I'm forgetting it. Who was it? Havemeyer, thank you. How do you know that? You read my book. Yeah. Thank you very much. The Havemeyer daughter, Louise, was a sugar fortune, and she was the best friend of Mary Cassatt. They were in Paris. And Mary, to simplify it, said, let's invest some of your family money into the Impressionists. So the amazing collection at the Metropolitan Museum was built to that configuration of young women. But at the estate, the guardian of what was left of it said, the last Mr. Havemeyer was a bit mental, and there's a horrible metal contraption with things coming out of it that he had to wear. But we got to be on that lake. Yeah, we saw these already. Am I forward or backwards? I'm backwards. Okay, close your eyes, take a rest. Yeah. Okay, we leave the water of Lake Mawa. Wait, stop. Now it won't behave. No. Okay, this is the mystery element that's been really engaging for me. You see those strandy things coming out next to the exuberant cat? So I saw them in Liverpool on top of this building structure, and they reminded me of something. And I wondered what they were. Are they about some kind of strange energy? Well, I'm getting confused. Does anybody know what they are? Any engineering student here? They're what? Rebar. Yeah, they're rebar. So that was a wonderful coincidence because rebars are made to connect layers of poured cement, right? something like that. And here is this physical affinity between the properties of energy. I was very happy to find them. So I turned them upside down, and they increased the resemblance to the cat. So up to and including her limits is in the 70s, and it's the work where I will begin desisting with group performance. It's a work where I really want to have the intimacy of drawing, of painting, of not training people, of not rehearsing, of not having audiences. And so I build 2 walls for drawing and suspend myself on the rope relating to all the previous rope work. It takes a very long time because this is the image I have for realizing the work, and no one with a gallery or a museum or a space will show it. Happily, it finally was at MoMA last year, waiting since 1975. All the various performance images were edited in sequences and completed on the night when John Lennon was killed. So you all probably know about this troublemaker, but it was just a simple little dream image, which as you know, I never wanted to enact it, and then somehow it pushed itself forward in time and space and became iconic. Now here's what's interesting about it. You recognize that fragmented vertical line? That's a Giacometti version, a Duchamp version, Indian, Native American. And the same old thing seen from this side, so that it's about its form and its energy, and it takes it away from most of the prurient associations that it has probably transcended now that it's in everybody's school book. And then I bring it back to that original broken stick. This is a work that you'll see frozen. The motor has broken down, so it's there in a immobilized version in the Henry exhibit, Warm Up. It relates to the Vietnam work, but it's from the 80s, and the video depicts destroyed Palestinian villages. Very, very hard to get that footage. All right, this blank means that I want to show a DVD. It's ever work that I don't understand at all. It's because that's important for students to know. Snafu. It's only 3 minutes. It's a motorized sculpture with a computer chip in each sculpture. So I think it's useful for students who have so much overdetermination around their work and their program to know that so much of this work comes mysteriously that I don't know what it means. And particularly snafu, I know it's about anti-gravitational momentum. And I knew very early on that I had to have a horse race moving vertically against and within those images. Power is a full installation. It's multi-channel. This is the 2-channel as a full installation. It's about 6 monitors arranged in this space. Some of it is, I guess we would say, appropriated because in the middle of the 90s and the late 90s, I was gratuitously sent all this disaster footage from Sarajevo from the Philippines, from Lebanon. Somehow the footage was turning up, and I wanted to see if I could use it in juxtaposition with the most ordinary images of domestic intimacy where everything was comfortable and not being threatened. So that was the impetus for this. The filming was odd because the first image I really wanted was seen in a barber shop from not very close, from probably this edge of the stage over to there was a barber shop. Of course, it's all men, where a man was giving this shaving gesture. I thought that's the most vulnerable gesture between men that I can imagine. I need it. But I couldn't go in the barber shop, so I shot from here, and it worked. And that great big bird, I was chasing that. That was in my driveway up home. So I'm chasing the bird, hoping my battery is still going. In LA, I was running after the airplane. So I consider so much of my imagery a kind of gift, because I'm never quite ready for what I have to go after. The footage in Snafu, those motorized coats, I knew I needed a horse race, and then I would twist it and make it vertical. I didn't know why. Still, I'm unclear about it, but it's what I needed. My original partner, James Tenney, was doing what might be one of his last concerts in Nova Scotia. His cancer had come back. And I thought, I'm just going to go there and record. He's going to play the Ive Sonata. I'll record that and whatever else he does. And I called Nova Scotia, and they didn't have any hotels available, but I went. I found a room, and I put the TV on, and there was this horse race, and I grabbed my camera. It was another sort of randomized pursuit. I knew I had to have it, and there it was. So I'm just going to show one last recent work as a document. The work itself is in the gallery at the Henry. It's called Precarious. It's a work about captivity. Again, it came out of research on the torture of animals, and I did a print series of cats that look like all your pets, mushed into cages, going to China to become soup. And then I began to research the different kinds of inventive brutality where humans have roosters killing each other, even crickets in China are trained to attack one another. So I did all this research, and the extracted images include Snowball, the dancing cockatiel. Everybody knows Snowball? How many people have seen Dancing Snowball? Yeah, he's a phenomenon, and is a he. I researched it. He's a rescue bird who changes his rhythms to the music. He's quite incredible. He's being studied now by animal psychologists. So I have Snowball, I have Prisoners in Precarious, which has extracted images of dancing in captivity. And that's the last, I mean, it's a document. You can see the installation at the Henry. So I'll be very happy to take some questions, but I want to give an enormous thanks for this amazing exhibit and weekend, and I don't quite know where to start. Perhaps first with Brian Wallace, who had the initiatory vision to make this
retrospective exhibit possible. First for the Dworsky Gallery in New Paltz, which is very close to where I've lived most of my life. And then to have Liz Brown develop and extend his vision and principles of this work for the Henry, and to have me here with this fantastic crew. I've had such wonderful support from everybody making the new screen happen, to the projection, to the Funny Hotel, the Max, and I don't know where to quite stop, but with thanks to all of you as well. And we'll welcome questions, and they don't have to be special, just any kind of question is useful because I'm here. So
if you have a question, if you could stand up, and I'll come to you.
gosh, it's awfully quiet now. Huh? Do I have to do all the work all the time around here?
Hi. When you talked about how one of the pieces took 25 years to be shown, that makes me wonder, what would you tell yourself when you kept seeing you making work and having a hard time getting it shown? How would you deal with that?
You mean basically, how do you deal with cultural neglect and precision? Oh, you just say fuck them and just, yeah. Most artists just keep going because we have to. You don't feel good if you're not working, and you feel especially not good when you see how much work is piled up in your studio, under the desk, in the barn, at your cousin's house. It's a very small margin of artists who occupy that creamy position, and in contemporary energy, they have to do it with a great deal of luck, connivance, and so much of it has to do with a kind of fortunate confluence of glamour, investment, entering the market. So far, I haven't entered the market, and my work really has its life because of an audience like you. And then to support it, I'll teach or think of something. Yeah. So you have to follow what you need to do out of that necessity, right? Yeah, you can't expect approval or support unless you're very lucky. I should say that I've been very fortunate in being able to edit with a wonderful collaborator, editor at Electronic Arts Intermix. So it really took many, many years sometimes to properly edit and configure early works. And I've been remastering Meat Joy looks good to me here, and Fuses, and Waterlight, Water Needle. And so now I finally have a good distribution area also.
Hi, Carolee.
Hi.
There's a wonderful, wonderful quality of a corporeal quality to your work that's so fascinating, especially in the early work, the way you play with cats, that sort of linkage of spiritualities. But I'm wondering how when you move from the sort of the corporeal realm into the digital realm, if you're able to sort of maintain that sort of spiritual and corporeal quality to your work.
What do you think when you see it? Do you think it's there or it's gone, or?
Well, I have trouble seeing it continue. I have trouble seeing it continue, and I'm wondering if it's a simple question about medium, or if there's a shift in your work, or. For me, there's such a flattening with the digital arena that I feel that oftentimes what's gained with digital media somehow overshadows the loss. And the loss that I feel is the sort of the balance and the sort of linkage with the true corporeal nature of our existence.
Well, I feel when I can, the video is very luscious and painterly and corporeal sufficiently. I love editing, and I feel that I'm closer to a realm of painterly organization when I'm editing video. For instance, in Devour, just sucking the spaghetti took about 7 hours to get that rhythm right and the glossiness and the duration. So when I'm engaged like that, I feel it's corporeal, but I'm never sure. I'm never sure if the work is okay or not anyway. So. But I think also what you're saying is the body is not that explicit in these works the way it was earlier. Yeah.
Is the loss of that explicitity, is that something about medium? Is that something about Carolee?
I don't know quite. Yeah, all of that probably. Yeah.
Hi. First, I just want to thank you because you've actually deeply impacted my life. I was in a punk band in the early 80s called the Art Sluts, and my friend Gretchen Phillips was in a band called Meat Joy, named after your piece. So I've been aware of your work for a very long time. I never actually thought I would be able to see you in person, so that's really great for me. I wonder if you've noticed in the past 2 years that there seems to be, finally the world is kind of ready for the yang feminine, as I'm calling it or I'm feeling it. Do you think that your work is now being championed more? I mean, do you feel that? I feel an internal wave of this finally we can do it. People get it. We don't have to keep saying.
What's going on? What's happening? I don't know. It's great, though. It's good. Certainly the work has a deeper context and more visibility. And this weekend, all the programs are dedicated to that. So I don't know what they're going to do. It might be thrilling, it might be terrible, but it's in a momentum. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, I wanted to ask briefly about one of your more recent works that's now on exhibit at the Henry, which is the collage of Falling Man. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that work, your motivation for the work, and also if you think the interpretation of the work should be changed now that we think we know who the falling man was, and if that makes a difference, you think, in that
I'll
work.
tell you something really weird. I have a great difficulty understanding Seattle speak. I really can't get a lot of what the people are saying. It's as if the vowels are all melting together. Just don't get it.
So,
And
Carolee,
I'm very regretful about that because it's not as if you're saying and totally and it's just that whatever you're saying fades into each other. Could you?
she asked if you could speak a little bit more about terminal velocity.
That's what she asked?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
Or just, she referred to the Falling Man piece, and if our interpretation of the work might change now that we think we know who the falling man in those photographs is.
Well, no, I think the mystery of the falling remains for me, and my sense of wanting to make a concentration and an homage. It's also about gravity and anti-gravitational propulsion. I just wanted to study those images which you can only study from newspapers, from Ben-Day dots, because the video dissolves right away. You can't work with it. There was a very hostile reaction to the work when it was first shown. And I suppose it was too close to 9/11, and I had to try to figure out what it was doing. And some of it had to do with a male fury at vulnerability, and that an artist would only do something like that to take advantage of the disaster. So it's printed, it's printed. It's complex, you know, it's dealing with such a large history. So I want to thank everybody. It was great to do this, and good to be here, and carry on with your art and art research. Thank you.